hockey. Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Judd's Hockey Show, planning to get to the start of a full work week. And so I think the last time we talked to you was on Friday after a thrilling wild shootout victory over the Colorado Avalanche, a matchup of the two best teams. We'll get to what happened the next night on Saturday night against the Buffalo Sabres, which we were both at. By the way, if you don't recognize him by now, I don't know what you're necessarily doing here. Of course, AJ Fredrickson. Jesse Pierce will join us, as she always does, for the Wednesday show. So I've got some notes here, AJ. I think we should start off with the good. I think we should start off. I'm not ordinarily Mr. Positive necessarily, but I think we should be here because there's no really compelling case not to be. And the good is this: the Wild's November was fantastic. I mean, despite. And we'll get to it, what happened on Saturday. 11-1-2. The regulation loss came at Carolina, which is a tough foe. And in fact, the Wild then beat Carolina at home. An overtime loss to the Sharks, and then a shootout loss on Saturday to the Sabres. But this team was 3-6-3 in October, and it was a complete mess. It felt like 3-6-3, in retrospect now, felt like they won about one game. Like it was just, the team was so... It felt so lethargic. It felt like this team is just not good. We talked about this. They are now third in a very difficult Central Division, 33 points, 14-7-5 as we embark on December. And it was an impressive turnaround, no question about it. It was definitely a glimpse of who this team can be if they play the correct structure. But here's, I think, the big question. What do we now expect going forward from a team that has shown probably its worst? October was probably its worst, I hope. And I think that if you think that they're going to go 11-1-2 in December, you're probably crazy again. So probably bookended then by its best in November.
I think their home record on the season right now is about what we would expect moving forward from them, which is right now they're 8-3-4 at home this season. That seems about kind of middle-ish, maybe leaning towards more what we saw in November from this team. And that's what I would probably expect moving forward, because during November, they also had a stint where they were out, 3 centers were injured and 2 wings were injured. And they still were able to keep some momentum, picking up wins after wins after wins and adjusting, doing what they were supposed to do back in October. Now, is that sustainable? Is that what I expect, where they're going to go basically undefeated in regulation the rest of the season? No, they're not going to do. They're going to lose games, and we're going to see games like we saw on Saturday, which we'll get to, where you're the better team, and for some reason you weren't able to secure 2 points. But I think what we've seen now is the worst, fingers crossed, is behind them and in the past, and that you don't revert back to that, the lowest of valleys. But I don't think we're going to see necessarily the highest of highs like we have been over the past couple of weeks here. In the near future, I think we're going to see a little bit of a regression, but like a natural one. Like they course corrected very heavily, but now they're on the right course. They're on the right path. And I think this level of play where they're a little bit more disciplined defensively, you're getting good goaltending. I do think the goaltending might shift back a little bit, but right now we're still seeing really high level play. And you're seeing Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov do what they need to do, which is drive play offensively. If you have some guys step up, you're going to win more games. If you don't, you're probably going to lose some more games. And that's where I think the variation will come into play.
And I think that was, so there's no question that they either got the defensive structure right in November or they adjusted things, which is very, very possible. Because from their own zone point of view, it felt like October and November were worlds apart in months. But I think you hit on the biggest question, which is the goaltending. Because there's no... As good as the Wild played with the structure for the most part in every game in their own zone, they still got a ton of key saves and a ton of huge saves. And Gustavsson was good. I'd say Wallstedt was brilliant. I mean, Gustavsson was very good. This is not to downgrade him, but Wallstedt had a brilliant month. And so that to me becomes the biggest question, because I think you can continue, if you want to, you can continue to play your structure. Like that's your identity. We talked about this. In October, we did a whole show on what's the Wild's identity. We have no idea. Well, they showed it now. So your identity doesn't have to leave you. Guys get hurt, but the good thing about having an identity and a structure, especially in your own zone, is guys can get hurt, but you can plug guys in to play that system. I'm not saying that's a sustainable thing into the playoffs because your top end talent has to come back if it's out. But the goaltending to me, like Wallstedt especially, what are we going to get from him as far as is November something that he can continue? Is that too much to ask? Is it something where we're still going to see, let's just say you get 85 to 90% of that guy though, which would be pretty damn good. Yeah. So that's my biggest question is how real was the goaltending? Because if the goaltending that we have seen is what they're going to get pretty much consistently for the rest of the season, you're going to be, I believe, famous last words, of course, because it's the Wild. Yep. I believe, disclaimer, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
I think what we saw from Gustavsson is, I mean, expected of him. Like you signed the extension. We've seen him play at that level before. That's not necessarily new, and maybe that's why it didn't shock and like the oohs and ahs of watching fireworks in net, because we've seen him play that level before. So I think that's sustainable, and that's something that we can see consistently from him. Wallstedt, though, what a change! What a coming out party! What a showing! Hey, what did he get? You've told me he got 3 games in October?
3 games in October, yeah.
3 games in October.
Not prepared yet.
Not prepared yet. Not trusted yet. Wasn't ready.
Need a reset.
But November, the calendar flips over, and he is Patrick Waugh. He is Marty Brodeur. He was fantastic. If he can play anywhere close to that, I think this team's in really good shape. But I do want to say that I think it'll be really dependent on how John Hines and the coaching staff tends, what corner of the room they're going to tap into for the net, where the schedule is going to be congested all the way up until this Olympic break in February here, where we don't even know if they're going to be able to play based on an article from ESPN over the past weekend. Yeah. That's a topic for another day. Yep. But how they ride hot hand, how they divvy it up, because it's very much seeming like a 1A, 1B situation in goal for the Wild right now. Maybe the main talker is who's 1A and who's 1B. I would probably imagine Wallstedt as of recent is going to be that 1A. But you want to like keep the food hot, but not necessarily overcook it. And I don't want to see Wallstedt burn out. And all of a sudden we know that he's a thinker. And this is my hesitation for how he's been playing. Because if you keep tapping in, you're saying, Wallstedt, you're going to get this big matchup. You're going to get this big matchup. He seems to have really gone to a place now mentally where if he does allow goals, if he does lose a game, we haven't seen that all last month in regulation, at least at this season, actually, he's gotten the Wild at least a point in every single start he's made. But he seems like a guy who could bounce back. But if, let's say 2-3 games in a row, defense maybe breaks down a little bit. Maybe they lose a guy on the blue line, and all of a sudden he gets peppered. He's letting 3-4 goals in. How is that going to affect him? How is he going to react to that? Do you feel like he's gotten over that hump mentally yet, or is that not something that we can maybe make a real decision on until we actually see it?
I feel like he's one is I don't know, because is, I mean, he played so well in the month of November that I certainly didn't see him turning into, as you just said, Patrick Waugh. But I also think he's somewhat insulated right now because they clearly are going with a rotation that is, as we saw, shutout, next game, next guy, shutout, next game, next guy. So they in no way, shape, or form in November rode the hot hand. So I feel like he's insulated a little bit by that. And again, I don't think that this is an important discussion about who is the top goaltender until the playoffs start, at which point it gets juicy as hell because you should ride one of them. Like I am not, and I know the teams have rotated goaltenders in the past at times, but you should ride one. And if you recall what Jacques Lemaire did in the 2003 Wild playoff run to the Western Conference Finals, which you were probably too young at the time, but perhaps you've studied this, is what they did was they started Dwayne Rollison in goal, rode him until he had a not so great game, and then brought in Fernandez for a series of games, and then he went through a spell where he played well, and then he tailed off, and it went back to Rolston. So they didn't do a rotation, but they sort of just went with the hot hand. That's a possibility. But I do think that this becomes a much more in-depth discussion as springtime arrives, depending on where the Wild is in the standings. For now, I think they're both in a very good place because you can, if one of them starts to slump, ride one of them. And if they don't, it just goes bang, 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 bang. And if you have an off game, and there's a big difference between a slump and an off game. So I'm curious to see this, but I do think that that's probably my biggest question because it feels like everybody else can continue to play the way that they're playing. I mean, Kaprizov has been a star. Boldy has been a star. And that's who they should be. As far as the structure goes, I think that it's just a structure and you have to follow it closely. And yeah, it's a hard style to play, but you have to play it. But the goaltending is the one, I mean, we've talked about this before. The goaltending is your true wild card because there's no saying, oh my God, you're struggling now as a goaltender. What's going on? How is this happening? Goaltenders go through slumps. Goaltenders go through lulls. And you don't need these guys to be as good as they were this past month, but you need them to be to a certain point because we did see a lot, we saw enough breakdowns during the month where if these guys hadn't been playing so sharp, you don't come away with what an 11-1-2 mark in that month.
And to your point on guys are playing the way that they should be with Boldy, with Kaprizov, you're even getting that on some of the depth stuff too. And so one of the guys who's kind of risen up my like the fluctuating imaginary wild player rankings, Trenyon's been playing pretty well. I've liked his game. You're seeing you're seeing Danila Yurov stepping up into that top center role. He's been playing well, and I think whether that's sustainable, will he get better as he gets more comfortable in those top end minutes, or will we see him maybe shake and quiver at the moment? Do you think that those guys are somewhat of the same, where that's exactly the play that we are going to be able to expect from them moving forward? Because Tarasenko comes back into the lineup on Saturday. I was less than pleased with his play. And I understand the history there, but there was no reason from what we saw, especially after he sent it well wide of the goal, why John Hines taps his shoulder for fourth in the shootout, because that was an appalling decision in 2020 hindsight. But for the rest of the kind of the depth guys, do you think the play there is sufficient and, we're getting what we should?
I think it's a breakdown of different guys. I think that question applies to different guys differently. Trenin, there is no reason why he can't play like this. He's not scoring a ton. It's not like the shooting percentage is through the roof and there's regression on the horizon. Trenin is playing like he can. I mean, in some ways, you know what? He's not as skilled and he's not going to score goals like him. But in some ways, Trenin and Marcus Johansson in their own roles are the same guy. In the sense that they've got it in them to play to like a certain specification. The only question is, do they want to? And when Johansson's on a 1-year cheap contract, he's going to work his ass off. Trenin, it feels like, has done the same. Now, again, he's not flashy. He's not silky smooth. He's not going to carry the puck in, or if he does, it's not going to be pretty. He's not going to score a bunch of goals. But the way he's playing now, and I'm with you on Saturday. And I know Tarasenko comes back and they acquired him and blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about that. Trenin, in my opinion, should not have been demoted off that third line. And I mean, I have long been a Trenin critic. Tarasenko, in my opinion, added nothing there. Yurov is a different subject to me because he's young still. And I mean, I think he's done a really nice job. Now, you could argue the faceoffs aren't great, and that's a team that's ordinarily, I think, in defensive, Eriksson has really improved there, but that's ordinarily a team-wide thing. But Trent's also done a lot of good there, and as we talked about, I think it was after the Avs game, if I'm not mistaken, he really seems to fit in well with Zuccarello and Kaprizov, where, as you've pointed out, absolutely correct, Rossi seems to almost at times be finding his way there. Like, what should I do? What should I do? Yurov just sort of does what he's supposed to do, which I think starts with the defensive end for him. So I think a lot of these guys are put into separate bins, But if you look at the majority of like the veterans and how they played in November, it's just choosing to play the right style. It's not like, it's not like they were scoring. It's not like one guy, right? Like one guy didn't step up in November and suddenly take the bull by the horns and you're like, "Oh my gosh, can this continue?" Kaprizov played Kaprizov style, which is great. Boldy has been great. Now, this is what, this is why, for instance, I got so frustrated with Boldy before. He has this in him. He's a star player.
Yep.
And if he shows up, he is going to be better than the majority of guys, save for a Kaprizov, on the ice. So I think your question applies differently to different guys, but the Tarasenko thing to me, unless it turns around, is a absolute sore thumb because I don't know what you do there because, quite frankly, I don't know he should be playing.
Well, it sounds like he's going to also stay in the lineup for a while, guaranteed, because they, over the weekend, I think yesterday morning, they placed Tyler Pitlick on waivers to send him down. So it's not like they're going to, they got, it's not like they got enthralled by his play. And it sounds like maybe then in that happenstance, they're expecting good news. Yeah, but they're expecting good news on either a Marcus Foligno, maybe a Vinny Hinostroza coming up here. As a return. So there's going to be too many cooks in the kitchen in terms of bottom six wingers.
Yeah. Didn't John Hines say post game after the loss to Buffalo? Didn't he say that that Rossi might travel on this road trip and Foligno and Hinostroza are being left home? So perhaps Rossi is close too.
Yeah. And does that, does that mean we're going to get the inevitable move to the wing for Rossi? Is that
no? I don't think so. If I'm moving anyone to the wing, it's Hartman. I'm moving Hartman to the wing. Now, I guess the question is, would they move? And I don't think the answer is yes, given how he played. But the other question is, would they move Yurov to a wing and put Rossi back in as the top center, which I could see John Hines doing. I wouldn't advocate for that right now, but I could see that. But yeah, no, I think Rossi is safe as a center. And, I think Hartman going to the wing is absolutely fine. He can still take some faceoffs. Like you're on the ice. Yeah. It's not like you can't take faceoffs. But yeah, that's an intriguing one. And the Tarasenko thing to me is, though, do you put him on the fourth line? And if you do, should you just be scratching him? And it feels like the Wild really wants to bleed the turnip. They're like, oh, we traded for this guy. He was a big scorer. But the reality is he scored 11 goals last season, and it wasn't a Red Wings problem. It was a Tarasenko age problem.
Yeah, when Rossi comes back, I just see him slotting in, I think, probably third line center, Hartman to the wing, Tarasenko goes down and now takes that Pitlick fourth line spot. But your point is exactly right. At that point, it makes more sense, you would think, and this is if everybody else is healthy and applicable, he doesn't play that fourth line role. Like that's just not who he is, because you want defensive capability, you want hardworking, you want to, go to the dirty areas. All three of those I feel like lack in his game. Not that he can't do things at times offensively, but he doesn't do it enough to warrant a probably even top 9 position on a nightly basis. So at what point do you just, the trade that we made, we absorbed this cap hit, and we did it to potentially please at the time an unsigned Kirill Kaprizov. You just say, you know what? Just ride this season out. Like, we're going to call on you when we need to, but Marcus Foligno's coming back. He's going to go back on the wing because he wears an A. Vinny Hinostroza works a heck of a lot harder than you. He's got a little burst to his game going north-south. He's going to come into the lineup over you as well. He doesn't have the hands that you might have or have possessed in your.
But he can play fourth line. That's my thing. Is to your point, you're right. Tarasenko's not a fourth liner. Like he doesn't have that. The attributes, like the fourth line, I suppose back in the day it was you just suck, but now it's a specified role. And Tarasenko, if Tarasenko can't score goals, he doesn't really have a place. And it just, I mean, it feels like we now have 2 years of his greatest attribute, unfortunately, has left him. And I don't see him not trying. Like when Johansson's not playing well, it's effort. It's effort. When Tarasenko is not scoring, unless you disagree, and we've watched him a bunch from the press box as well, I don't see a guy that's not trying. I see a guy that's trying. I just see a guy whose greatest asset that once was isn't there. So I don't know that there's hey, we're going to put you on the fourth line and kick your ass and you're going to get it. I don't sense a lack of desire. I just sense that the skill has shrunk.
I think it might maybe appear like lack of effort at times because he's with a veteran player like him. He sort of lets the game come to him. And when he has been given these power play opportunities and, these scoring opportunities where he kind of goes on the wing, he has had a role in the past on teams where I'm going to set up shop, you're going to feed me the puck, and then I'll shoot. And then when he inevitably, so far this season, doesn't score, you see the frustration come out. And so going back to their rough stretch in October, the comments of, every guy in this room cares. Yeah, I believe 91 cares. But also the coaching staff has to care enough to have a tough conversation that says, I don't think your skill set and the way that you play the game is going to fit with the spot in the lineup that we are actually going to put you into. And
Correct.
That's the fourth line. Unless you're going to take Liam Ogren out, which I wouldn't put it past them again because even though the past couple of games, I think I've liked his play. He's looked good. He looks like he's getting more confident. Knowing how this team operates and the coaching staff operates, they're going to go back to the savvy vet that they traded for in the offseason before the up-and-coming something to prove young guy.
Absolutely. And I also think, so Ogren has been on, was he on the third line on Saturday?
He was, yeah.
Okay. I also don't think that he is a fourth line guy. So, I don't think that, and their issues are different. I get that between Tarasenko and Ogren. But again, I think the fourth line is now in 2025, and it has been for a while, a specified role. And neither one of those guys, if Ogren's going to play the fourth line, he might as well probably be in Des Moines. And if Tarasenko's going to play the fourth line, he, as you so eloquently put on Saturday, should be sitting right by us in the press box. Mm-hmm. So this is not a situation of play the kid. This is a situation of I want grinders there. I want guys that work hard. I mean, Trennan didn't deserve to be demoted to the fourth line, but Trennan on the fourth line does make sense. Mm-hmm. He knows that role, and he's playing it right now. Credit to him. Mm-hmm. So, this is just a conversation, I think more so about who fits into the role. And quite frankly, if Tarasenko's not top six, if he can't do top six things now, that was his whole skill set. We could talk about, well, he could do this and do that, and he might be great in the room. I got no clue. Kaprizov might love him. I got no clue. He might hate him. I got no clue. But it's an entire conversation about your roster construction and your lineup on a given night against teams. And I don't see those guys being, Ogren or Tarasenko, fourth line guys. Age, you know what? December 1st is here. The calendar has flipped. So I want to talk to you about holiday gifts. I want to talk to you guys right out there because you're putting it off right now. Stop putting it off. The holidays are up on us, and I want to start with a new sponsor, Aura Frames. And this is the perfect gift for the holiday season for friends or family. Aura Frames are going to not only be a hit, but also save you from, as I just said, waiting until the 11th hour when it comes to finding a gift. What makes Aura Frame special? For one, you can preload photos before it ships and upload unlimited photos and video by downloading the Aura app and connecting to Wi-Fi. In other words, what you've got here is you have a picture frame that can handle plenty of pictures. It can handle, it can be a situation where it's changing all of the time. Absolutely fantastic. And for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by going to auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using the promo code JUD at checkout. That's Aura, AURA frames.com. Promo code JUD. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays and support the show, again, by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. That's auraframes.com. Promo code JUD is the important thing. And also a great gift for a hockey fan. The World Junior Hockey Championships are almost upon us. December 26th through January 5th. This is the 50th anniversary of the tournament, held at Grand Casino and also at 3M at Mariucci. We're talking about top 10 talent from 10 nations and on through today. So this is Monday, and this deal ends today, is the Black Friday BOGO deal. Buy one ticket, get one free now through December 1st, which again is today. Perfect for a family night or that hockey-obsessed friend on your holiday list. Grab your BOGO tickets at worldjuniorsmn26.com. All right, let's get to the game here on Saturday night against the Sabres, because as great as the month was, it was sort of a, let's just say it was an unpleasant experience to see this one as a way to go out. It was a loss. You got a point. In fact, your 7-game win streak came to an end, but you now have still an 11-game point streak. But Age, this was a game where it was a great test because you played Colorado. Building was electric on Friday. 2 top teams. The Avs are absolutely incredible, and you beat them in a shootout, and it was great. And then you get Buffalo. Perfect test. Buffalo's not good. I believe that they entered with 22 points. Worst team in the Eastern Conference. And it's like, okay, this is just as important to see how you respond. And you know what? The best teams respond by kicking Buffalo's butt. And the Wild didn't. They allowed them to hang around. The Wild had the better of the play, but in the end, you lose in a shootout. And I'm not sure about you, but post-game, I sensed John Hines' disappointment. Because it was such a good test to see, okay, really good team, you're up high. Now, how do you come back? And unfortunately, for the first time in a month, they reminded me of the Wild far too much.
There's going to be some people that listen to or watch this show that are saying, you keep mentioning the test. You were testing them all November. How long is this test going to be? Like, when do we know the answer? And that's when I say, this is the Wild. The test is going to be as long as we need it to be. Because it's so easy to say, you know what, they beat the Avalanche on Friday night in a shootout. They looked fantastic. It was high flying action. You can just A+. This is exactly who they are. Well, you get a little bonus test the next day. It should be a pop quiz based on everything you just know, and you come up. And I think I would rule it as a failure. You left a very competitive game on the table for a game that should have been a 2 to 3 goal win minimum. Buffalo, not a very good team, not very hot. You have swirling rumors about guys being unhappy with contract situations. You have locker room issues there. You have players getting videos taken of them at the bar hours after losing a game. Like, there's drama going on in that locker room and within that fan base. And they came into your building a little over 24 hours after you beat the hottest team in hockey, and they beat you in a shootout. There's no reason for you to allow that to go by. Like, the way that we've seen them playing, yes, they can make mistakes. I don't expect them to win every single game, but I would have liked them to. This was one where I would have loved them to do so. I understand you had some bad bounces. Matt Zuccarello puts the puck in his own net. I mean, that was an interesting sequence.
Don't allow them to hang around.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
You've been playing hockey well enough all month to where you could have put 4 pucks in your net. You should have put up 6 on these guys. You have a rookie goaltender net who's got a save percentage below 900. You saw it early in the game, the first period. Like, it wasn't the best period of hockey by the Wild all month by any stretch of the matter, but they dominated the play. They controlled the game, and they proved that if you just throw pucks towards the net on Colton Ross, right? Colton Ross? Let me double check here. Yeah, Colton Ellis, excuse me.
Colton Ellis, yes.
Colton Ellis. If you throw pucks to the front on Colton Ellis, he's going to let it squeak through. You're going to be able to, Matt Boldy, pick the puck off of Alex Tuck along the wall, skate to the middle, and beat him 5-hole. They didn't do that the second period or the third period, and it felt like there was kind of this, oh, okay, we're closing out the month. We played a good first period. We know what the Sabres are. We can just coast to the finish here. Well, they put up a little bit of a fight. You helped them out a little bit. Now you're in overtime. Okay, well, we secured a point, and we just did this yesterday against the best. We're going to be just, well, that's not the case. In overtime, we saw a lot of the same. What you should be able to see is a high-flying team dominating a lesser opponent.
Right.
You let them get to a shootout, and then in the shootout, it's a skills competition. It's really a coin toss at this point, whether you're the best team in hockey or the worst.
Yep. And the next night, while the Wild got a point against Buffalo but lost the game in a shootout, Colorado came back, went home, and kicked Montreal's butt. And John Hines pointed that out because that's what the great teams do. That's what the really good teams do. I just thought going from Colorado to Buffalo was such an excellent test of your ability to maintain a certain status of play and style of play. And the Wild, Buffalo wanted to go away, and the Wild didn't make them. And when that didn't happen, any team gets a little bit of a spark. And so it was disappointing. I mean, it's still a great month. They're now in very good shape. But all of that being said, it was an excellent, like the schedule makers in retrospect could not have done any better. If you're John Hines, I can't decide if you hate that or sort of like that, because that's a great way to get the locker room back and say, okay, so you think, 11-1-2, you think you're so great, huh? The Buffalo Sabres just came into our barn, damn it, and got 2 points. So, all right, back with Jesse on Wednesday. Plenty more to discuss. If I'm not mistaken, the Wild actually plays the Edmonton Oilers on the start of a road trip on Tuesday, so we'll react to that game. Plenty more as well. He's AJ. I'm Judd. Judd's Hockey Show. I hope the dog didn't bug you too much barking in the background.